Like I said earlier, today is Monday, September 23rd, 2024, and we're having our morning analysis. So again, the month of September is gradually, you know, coming to an end. Like I always tell us towards month end, we need to evaluate what kind of results we've been able to get this month. How have you been able to trade? You know, have you made profits? Are you improving? You need to evaluate yourself. Month in, month out, you should be having a proper evaluation of your progress as a trader. So with that being said, let's look at what we have for this week from a fundamental perspective. Then we now go over to the technicals. Now, there are a lot of fundamental events this week, quite a number of them. And there are quite a number of events even today, being Monday. Now, usually, most of the time, we don't have any fundamental events on Monday. But today is an exception because there are quite a lot of events today from both the Eurozone, United Kingdom, and the United States. So in the Eurozone, by 8:15 this morning, that's roughly an hour from now, there'll be the French Flash Manufacturing PMI, French Flash Services PMI, and 8:30, there will be German Flash Manufacturing PMI, German Flash Services PMI. And by 9:30, there will be Flash Manufacturing PMI, Flash Services PMI. All of them will affect the euro. So volatility is expected across the euro pairs, roughly an hour from now, between 8:15, 8:30, and 9 a.m. So I want us to take note of that. Now, if the news comes out good for the euro, if you have a scenario where we have an all green on the euro, then we should expect a massive bullish movement. If you have, an all green on the euro, that means the news is good for the euro. Actual greater than forecast, good for the euro. Then we should expect a massive bullish movement across the euro pairs. And the news that will be released, if it's bad for the euro, that is, we have an outright red, then it means the news, the euro pairs are expected to decline into the bearish direction. So I want us to take note of that as we, get closer to the time when this data will be released. And later today by 2:45 p.m., there'll be, by 9:30 a.m. this morning, there'll be Flash Manufacturing PMI and Flash Services PMI from the United Kingdom. So this is expected to have a lot of impact on the British pound, the GBP pairs. So let's watch out. Again, if the news is good for the pound, then we'll have a green color to denote the actual. And in which case, if we have a green, then we're expecting a bullish movement on the pound. And if on the other side, we end up with a red scenario, then we're expecting a bearish movement, on the pound. And by 2:45 p.m. today, there'll be the Flash Manufacturing PMI and Flash Services PMI from the United States. So it looks like today is devoted to the Flash Manufacturing and the Flash Services PMI. Again, if the data is good for the dollar, then we're expecting a bullish movement on the dollar and on the dollar pairs. And that's where the pairs where the dollar is the base currency specifically. That's the USD JPY, USD CHF, and USD CAD. And if the data is bad for the dollar, then that will lead to a decline, across board on the dollar pairs. So that's just a rough. We'll still look at the technicals for further, information ahead of this news. So that's just generally what I can show you for now. Now, for the other events, I'll just pick the important ones so that we don't take too much time on all this. Tomorrow by 5:30 a.m. in the morning, there will be cash rate from Australia. Cash rate and RBA's rate statement, that is the Reserve Bank of Australia rate statement. Cash rate is Australia's own version of interest rate. It's Australia's version of interest rate. It's going to come by 5:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. You can stay awake or wake early rather to trade that event because volatility is expected. So volatility is expected, from Australia for this event, and there'll be the Bank of Japan governor where that is going to give a speech that might affect the JPYPS, and by 6:30 a.m. tomorrow, the RBA press conference will also hold, which will still have impact upon the Australian dollar. And those are the major events for yesterday, aside from the speeches. Those are the major events, the RBA cash rate and RBA risk statement. That's the major event for tomorrow. And for Wednesday, the major event for Wednesday, we have the AUD CPI. That's again from Australia. The Consumer Price Index will come out from Australia. And on Wednesday also, we have the new home sales and crude oil inventories from the United States. This will have effect on the US dollar come Wednesday. And those are the major events for Wednesday. And on Thursday, the important event on Thursday, there will be the SNB press conference, from Switzerland that might impact upon the market. Then we have the final GDP and unemployment claims. This will really have effect upon the US dollar. And Fed Chair Powell is going to give a speech. That's the chairman of the Fed in the US by 2:30 p.m. on Thursday. That will likely also impact heavily upon the market. Though it's not going to be tradable, that speech will not be tradable, but it can lead to a lot of volatility in the market. And Friday, the important event on Friday is actually the GDP from Canada. That's the gross domestic product. The core CPI, PCE price index from US might also move the market, but the main event for Friday is the GDP, from Canada by 1:30 p.m. All right, so these are all the events we have for this week. But for today, we just put a little emphasis on the events that are expected to take place today, being Monday, and that's the flash manufacturing PMI and services PMI for the Eurozone, for the United Kingdom, and the United States. So I'll flip over to the technicals for us to have a look at what we might expect ahead of this event on the pairs, on the currency pairs, that are concerned. Now, for the dollar, we're going to have a dollar event. So let's first start with the dollar. For the dollar, I still maintain a bullish outlook on the dollar for this week, largely because last week price closed, as a rejection candle on a support level, on the weekly time frame. Okay, this is the daily, and I think the same thing is still reflected on the weekly time frame. So let's go to the weekly time frame. All right, good. You can see on the weekly time frame for last week. Last week closed as a rejection candle on this support level. So, and we have a falling wedge there right on the weekly. So technically, we're looking for an opportunity to buy the dollar this week. So if the news comes out in such a way that the actual is greater than the forecast, then we should be looking for a bullish movement on the US dollar. Now, I'll look next. That's the dollar. That's the view from the dollar index angle. So we look at the main dollar pairs. We look at the USD CHF. Now, for the USD CHF, we can clearly see that price, is forming a pattern that looks a lot like an inverse head and shoulder on the daily time frame. Now, all things being equal, this might lead to a bullish, breakout on the USD CHF. Now we have an inverse head and shoulder on a support level that will likely lead to a bullish movement. So if the news comes out good for the dollar this morning, then we should see, or later today in the afternoon, then we should see a bullish breakout on the USD CHF. However, there's also a support level, sorry, resistance level, which is the neckline of the inverse head and shoulder. Price needs to also break that level for us to have a further confirmation of a bullish breakout. So if by the afternoon today, the news comes out good for the dollar and there's sufficient volatility to break the neckline, which is a minor resistance from what we can see, then we should expect a bullish movement on the USD CHF. But from all technical perspectives, I hold a bullish outlook on the USD CHF ahead of this event. Now, for the euros, we'll look a little bit at the euros. I'll look at the euro USD. Now, for euro USD, since we hold a bullish outlook on the dollar, the euro USD currently on the daily time frame price is trading around a resistance level on the daily. We have a resistance level up there between this region and this level where price is. So if the news comes out good for the dollar, then we should be expecting a decline on the Euro USD. So, and that goes in line with the analysis we have for the USD CHF. We are bullish on the USD CHF, so it's nothing wrong if we are bearish on the Euro USD. And from all technical angles, Euro USD is really looking bearish. So if the news comes out good for the dollar, you can either buy the USD CHF or you may sell the Euro USD. But at the same time, the euro news will come before the dollar news. So if the news comes out bad for euro, then because we have a technical bearish outlook on the euro, the news comes out bad for the euro, you can sell the euro USD. Then for the British pound, now I have some technical setup I've been watching for the pound since last week. And one of them, let me say the key one is actually the GBP card. And it's actually one of the technical setup I'd plan to share with us for this week. Now, I held a bearish outlook on this instrument last week. I can't remember if I mentioned it on Friday, but I'm still bearish on it again this week. And these are my reasons. On one side, if you look at this instrument from the monthly time frame, you can see that price has been descending downward the trend line right from the monthly time frame. We have, a lower high here. So we expect a further bearish continuation. And not only that, price is equally trading around a resistance level on the monthly time frame. We have a resistance, and price is on that same resistance. So technically, we're looking for an opportunity to sell the GBP card. So if by this morning, the news comes out in such a way that the actual comes out less than the forecast, then that is expected to lead to a decline on the GBP card. And if you look at it also closely, you can see the resistance line and trend line there. We probably have a rising wedge pattern on this, setup, which also is indicative of a decline. And finally, we've seen some some range around the resistance lately, showing that the buying pressure is no longer strong. It looks like the sellers are taking over this market and will likely push the price up. So if the news comes out less than forecast, we'll be looking at selling the GBP card. Now, what of a scenario where the news comes out actual greater than forecast? If actual comes out greater than forecast, I believe price will hit this resistance and trend line on the monthly time frame, which are reflected here on 1 hour, and may still likely reverse. So personally, I'll be looking out for more of the scenario where the actual comes out less than forecast so that I can sell the GBP card. So I'm bearish on the GBP card, both from a technical and even ahead of the news on the fundamental perspective. And you can trade this either as a swing or even as an intraday setup. If you want to trade this as an intraday setup, peradventure you miss the news, it does not mean that the move on this instrument is over. No, if you miss the news at 8:15, probably you're busy, you're at work, you can't take trades. There's nothing to worry about. Still wait. Just wait for price to break out below this trend line, and you can still trade out your trade afterwards. So if you miss it by 8:15, if it's 9 o'clock and that trend line is broken, go ahead and trigger a sell. Just make sure the trend line is broken. That's the condition. And possibly this region also, this support level is equally broken. If price breaks the trend line and this support, minor support zone, then we should see a decline. And don't forget to confirm with your RSI clearly below 50. So I hold a bearish outlook on this. And that's on 1 hour. If you want to do it on 4 hour, the same rule applies. Make sure that price breaks below that neckline, which is the minor support, and make sure that your RSI is below 50. Now for swing, it means you need extra patience because currently RSI is at 7. So it's going to take some time before RSI drops to 50 and below. So I think I would just suggest we can do it on 1 hour. 1 hour will be faster. If you miss, the news by 8:15, you can still look at a way to trigger a sell on 1 hour, maybe an hour, 2 hours after the release of the news. But technically, I'm bearish on the GBP card. And I'm likewise bearish on the GBP USD. For the GBP USD also, we have price trading, around a confluence zone right from the monthly time frame. Right from the monthly time frame, we can see a descending trend line. We can see a descending trend line right from the monthly time frame. This is expected to trigger a decline in the bearish direction there. And on the weekly time frame, okay, I'm not seeing anything on weekly. Okay, I think on the weekly time frame, I think I cited a kind of a psychological level. Yeah, there's a psychological level there, which is acting as a resistance. And also, we have this ascending, rising wedge pattern, you know, a descending trend line on the monthly, a psychological level acting as a resistance on the weekly, a rising wedge on daily, and another rising wedge on 4 hour. Everything is pointing to a decline on this instrument. Even down to 1 hour, we still have that rising wedge. So we can look for an opportunity to sell this if the news comes out not to favor the pound. So if the news does not favor the pound, we should expect a decline on this. Again, if you miss this from the news, you can still trigger a sell if price breaks below, the tip of this minor support. But generally, we are bearish on both the GBP USD and the GBP CAD. All right, so I've given my view on the dollar. I said I'm bullish on the dollar. I'm expecting a bullish movement on the USD CHF. I'm bearish on the Euro USD, and I'm bearish on the GBP ahead of the news. And these are actually some of the technical setup I plan to show us for today. Now, there are other setup I have which will work for today and even some parts of the week. I have the US oil. Now, this is the US oil on the daily time frame. Now, the daily time frame, you can clearly see that price, hit a very valid support zone. Price broke the support, became a resistance. Technically, we're expecting a decline. We're expecting an opportunity to sell. We can flip down to 4 hour time frame. And on 4 hour time frame, we can clearly see that there's a rising wedge. The rising wedge pattern is a bearish pattern. That tells us we're looking for opportunity to sell. So you can either take this, if you're there, you're a swing trader, you can wait and take this as a swing if price breaks out below, the lower trend line, and you can cite a rejection candle, or otherwise you can still flip down to 1 hour. If you're a day trader, it's still going to work on 1 hour. So this is a 1 hour version, and we expect a breakout. Now, just the other confirmation there is that at the point of the breakout, confirm that your RSI is clearly below 50 before you trigger a sell. So I'm bearish on the US oil. And now the next I want to show us is the BTC USD. Now, for BTC USD, what I can cite here, there are many kind of confluence around this, but the important one I will look at now is this. You can clearly see that price hit a resistance. That's the daily time frame. Price currently hit a resistance level and is forming a rejection candle around that region. And if you flip down to the 4 hour time frame, we can clearly see that there's a very perfect rejection candle up there, looking a little like a shooting star. It will be confirmed shooting star if the next candle to which is looking bearish now. If it closes as a bearish candle, the next by the time we start in the next 4 hour candle, which is by 10 a.m. But technically, I strongly believe we should expect a decline on the BTC USD. Now, what the other view I have about the BTC USD is that I'm saying this might likely form a shoulder ahead, possibly a second shoulder before we have a major, bearish decline. Now, if that does not, if it doesn't happen that way, the other thing that will happen is this. I'm drawing my trend line right here. Price may outrightly break out downwards. So two scenarios: a head. I didn't draw that too well. A head, a decline, a move up again, a head and shoulder, or price may break out outrightly. These are the two scenarios on the BTC USD. Technically, I hold a bearish outlook on the BTC USD. And I'll look also at the AUD USD and AUD CAD, and that will be all from my end this morning. I'm searching for AUD USD. All right, so this is AUD USD. Now for AUD USD, again, we have price trending downwards from the monthly time frame. And on the weekly time frame, we found a valid resistance. We have a valid resistance level from here to here, which is also signaling a decline on AUD USD. And we scale down to 4 hour and 1 hour. This is what we have on the 1 hour. I'm seeing here forming what looks like a double top, and that should lead to a decline with a rising wedge. So I hold a bearish outlook on AUD USD. And finally, I'll look at AUD CAD, and it's still the same bearish outlook, on the AUD CAD. All right, so this is AUD CAD. Now for AUD CAD, what we have is a resistance level. Price hits a resistance level on the weekly time frame. We have a resistance level, which is expected to lead to a bearish movement. The same resistance level is still valid on the daily, still valid. Now on 1 hour, it's looking a lot more like it's evolving into a double top pattern, which will lead to a decline or a bearish movement. And I can still draw my trend line also to still see how we can capture the move. It's not going to form a perfect rising wedge, though we can manage what we have here as a rising wedge. We can still manage it. But all so far, so good, what we're seeing is the possibility of a double top, a rising wedge, a resistance from daily, and that is expected to give us a decline on AUD. All right, so that's going to be all from my end this morning. Today, I've analyzed quite a number of pairs. I said I'm bullish on the dollar, and that means I'm bullish on the USD CHF. I'm bearish on Euro USD. I'm bearish on GBP USD. I'm bearish on GBP CAD. I'm bearish on US oil. I'm bearish on BTC USD. Now, BTC USD is on 4 hour. Other ones I've mentioned, they are all on 1 hour. And I'm bearish on AUD USD, and I'm bearish on AUD CAD. So that's all for my end this morning. I'll look briefly at the requests we have here, and we'll run through the remaining session of the analysis. Mr. Sunday, what's the bearish setup you are seeing on the Euro USD? Just a rising wedge, nothing spectacular. Now, Euro USD will be more, the movement will be more decided by the news between 8:15 and 8:30 a.m. But from the technical side, we have a resistance on the weekly time frame. You can see here we have a valid resistance here, which technically should give us, a bearish movement. So if the news comes out actual less than forecast, that should lead to a bearish movement on the Euro USD. So on the weekly time frame, we can see we have a resistance there, and on the 1 hour and even possibly 4 hour, the other thing we can see is a rising wedge pattern. So I'm bearish on Euro USD. So if the news comes out bad for the Euro, a decline is expected from there. Franklin Obaso and Euro CHF. For Euro CHF, you can see I've already checked this earlier. My view is this: the next move will be decided if price is able to hit this trend line, then break out downwards. If that has not happened, I will not encourage you to take any trade on the Euro CHF. An upward move touches the trend line, then we see a decline from there. That's my view on Euro CHF. USD JPY. Now for USD JPY, it's in a dicey position, but I will want to still have a bullish outlook, even though it looks as if, except if the news comes out, against the dollar, except if it comes out against the dollar. That's the only time it will be bearish. Even though technically it looks as if it's bearish on daily, but on the weekly, it's still strongly bullish. And the higher time frames can override lower time frames, except like I said, if the news in the afternoon comes out, actual less than forecast, that is when USD JPY will sell. But I want to go with what the higher time frame is saying at the moment. Now, on the daily time frame, we can clearly see we have a support turned resistance here that should be technically, that should lead to a decline. Also, we have a falling wedge, and this is the upper trend line of the falling wedge, and price is touching this zone as a confluence. Technically, all this should lead to a decline, from a technical angle on the daily. But if you go to the weekly time frame, from the weekly time frame, we actually have a support. Price hit a support level last week. Not only that, price closed as a bullish engulfing pattern. So with a bullish engulfing, technically, we should expect a bullish continuation. And if we flip down to the daily, this is actually an inverse head and shoulder on the daily. So, and that supports what is on the weekly. So technically, I want to hold a bullish outlook on the USD CHF, on the USD JPY, except if the news comes out actual less than forecast, then we will see a decline. Do I believe it will still go back up later? But if the news comes out in the afternoon, actual less than forecast, there will be a decline before a further bullish continuation. Euro JPY, most of the JPY pairs are ready for their long-term bullish movement. We started it since last week. For Euro JPY, that will not be an exception. Again, it's also, even though you can see there's a falling wedge here, which will lead to a bullish breakout. But then there's a news by 8:15 a.m. this morning. Now, we are bearish on the Euro USD, anticipating that if the news comes out actual less than forecast, we can sell the Euro USD. But if the news comes out actual greater than forecast, Euro JPY is going to buy. But then for the Euro JPY, we cannot also neglect the fact that currently price is trading around a support turn resistance. Now, sometimes when you have dicey situations like this, for me, the best I do at such time is just to stay out. If it's not looking too clear, I want to stay out. I want to look at the currency pair that is not affected by any fundamental or anything. Because one cannot be saying buying, the other one saying selling, and you want to still put your head, into the trade. There is no wisdom there. It's not about being a professional or anything. If there's a conflicting data, just stay back and watch what the market will do. So for Euro JPY, it can go either ways. Let me just come out straight with that. It can go either ways. Technically, this instrument is starting its long-term bullish movement. But fundamentals sometimes can override technical. You can see that again from the weekly time frame, this also closed as a rejection, not just a rejection, rather, as in it closed as a bullish engulfing candle last week, which technically should look at look towards bullish movement at a support level. We should expect a bullish movement. But then if the news comes out actually as a forecast, it may experience some decline before going in that bullish direction. So for me, I will advise to trade Euro JPY with a lot of caution at the moment. And more so, I will advise us to be very cautious with the JPY pairs because today there's going to be bank holiday in Japan. You can see the JPY bank holiday. I just switched over to my Forex factory. So this alone should tell you that possibly don't bother about the JPY today. Just look at the other pairs. Stay with the Euro USD, USD CHF. Because if you're having all this data, all these are set up are really conflicting, also with the bank holiday, and there'll be a news. If you can stay out, the better. Except you're already on the trade on any of the JPY pairs, of which I will encourage you to use a stop loss just, in case, just to be on the safe side. Otherwise, please stay out of the JPYPS for now until normalcy, is restored into the market. You're welcome, Mr. Sonny. You're welcome, Mr. Raju. David FX, GBP, JPY. Okay, I've already said the JPYPS trade with caution. No matter what you are seeing on the technicals, trade with caution. Trade all the JPYPS with a lot of caution. That's still my view. Technically, I'm not seeing any setup, but from what I've said so far, trade the JPYPS with a lot of caution. AUD USD, I've already analyzed this. I said we're bearish on 1 hour on the AUD USD. And I'll finally treat gold. That will be the last. You're welcome, Mr. Franklin. Gold is the last instrument I will analyze, then we end this session. Now for gold, I said it times without number. At the moment, gold is more fundamentally driven. The ongoing situations in different countries, Hamas and Israel, Ukraine and Russia and all the likes. That's what is currently driving gold. Except you can do a continuation trend trading, because we've been expecting some reversal for a while and it's not happening. That shows you that the hostility is still very much in operation. So that's why we've not experienced a decline. I'm trying to see if I can draw anything, any trend line to get us any setup. But the only thing I can see here is that price is trading just around this trend line. It's not, except we can see a decline, possibly this week. Yeah, this is a weekly time frame. Let's go down to the daily. On the daily time frame, price has actually broken out above the trend line. It has broken out above the trend line. Is there any psychological level in view? Let's check. No, still very far away. So except maybe you can do some scalping. For me, I'm not seeing any setup on gold at the moment. I'm not seeing any setup on gold at the moment. All right, so that'll be all from my end this morning. If you're on the platform, you are yet to have an account with PU Prime, just go over to our website, straight away www.puprime.com. Yes, Mr. Emmanuel, you have the recording. So as I was saying, if you're new to the platform, you don't have an account with PU Prime, just join puprime.com, click on it, register, and get your account. Your account manager will reach out to you and walk you through the registration and verification process. And just make sure you go ahead and fund and speak to with your account manager. They'll make note to you the available offers we have at the moment, possibly things like a deposit bonus if such is available. The account manager will intimate you with that and guide you through how to activate a deposit bonus. All right, that'll be all from me this morning. Take care. Have a great day today and a great week ahead. Bye-bye.